Today's lesson is on how do we apply the Pythagorean theorem. What is the length of a diagonal D of a rectangle with length 19 feet and width 17 feet? Take a second to copy down the question. In this problem, I'm going to start by drawing out a rectangle. When I draw a rectangle, anything that goes from one corner to the opposite corner that's not on the actual outline of the rectangle is the diagonal. So this is the diagonal. This is D. They tell me that the length is 19 and the width is 17. In a rectangle, every angle is a right angle. So this is a right angle and this is a right angle. That means that in this rectangle, the rectangle and the diagonal form a right triangle. So that means I have a right triangle that I can use to find the diagonal. I can use my Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. The diagonal is the c, or the hypotenuse, so I'll replace that. The 19 and the 17, they can switch between a and b. So I have 19 squared plus 17 squared equals d squared. 19 squared is 361 plus 17 squared, which is 289. 361 plus 289 is 650 equals d squared. Now I take the square root of both sides to find the actual length of the diagonal. When I do the square root of 650, the answer that I get is 25.4950. And then there are some other numbers, but I will just leave it like that. Since my answer does not say what to round to, I can just leave my answer like that, or I can leave my answer as the square root of 650. When we start doing other problems, I may need to use the square root of 650 again, so it's easier if I keep my answer as the square root. Given the box below, what is the longest bat that can fit in the box? Take a second to copy down the question and a quick sketch of the diagram. When I look at this problem, the longest bat that can fit is the one that goes from this front left corner to this back right corner. So that would be this line right here. I notice that that line, even in the problem, it has this right triangle drawn out for me. So this is a right triangle because they show me that this is a right angle. So in this right triangle, this is what I'm looking for, so I will call that x. So I know I can use a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Opposite my right angle is x, so that's what I'll leave for c. Now my other two sides, I have 66 here, so that would be 66 squared, plus this other side is another variable, d. So I have too many variables in this problem. Now I look and I notice that down here where d is, that's on the base of this box, which also forms another right triangle. So I can have a separate a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Opposite this right angle is D, so that will go in for C. And then I can have 10 squared plus 14.5 squared in for my A and B. 10 squared is 100 plus 14.5 squared, which equals 210.25 equals D squared. 100 plus 210.25 is equal to 310.25 equals D squared. Now I can take the square root of both sides. When I take the square root of 310.25, I get some long decimal. So I'm going to leave it as the square root of 310.25, and that's what D is. Now, I can go back up to my other Pythagorean theorem. The 66 squared can stay. In place of this D, I can put the square root of 310.25. 66 squared is equal to 4,356 plus the square root of 310.25 squared is 310.25 equals x squared. 4,356 plus 310.25 is equal to 4,666.25 equals x squared. Then I can take the square root of both sides. When I take the square root, I get that my final answer is 68.31. That's what I will round it to. So this here is equal to 68.31 inches. That's the length of the longest bat that can fit into this box. And the last problem. A company wants to rent a tent that has a height of at least 10 feet from an outdoor show. Should they rent the tent shown below? Take a second to copy down the question and a quick sketch of the diagram. When I look here, this is the height. The height of a three-dimensional object is going to be perpendicular with the base. I also notice, since I have that right angle there, I should see if I can make a right triangle. I have the H, I have this 15, and then if I connect them, I formed a right triangle. So I know I can use a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Opposite the right angle is 15, so that's my c squared. My a, I can replace that with h. Now I have to determine the length of this. Since it's coming from the height, it's coming right from the middle straight down, it will cut this 24 feet in half, so it would be 12 feet. So that would be 12. So now, if I continue to solve this problem out, I have h squared plus 12 squared, which is 144, equals 15 squared, which is equal to 225. Now I can subtract 144 from both sides, subtract 144 from both sides. 225 minus 144 is equal to 81. So h squared equals 81. Square root both sides, and I get that h equals 9. So since they want the height to be at least 10 feet, here the height is 9 feet, so no, this tent will not work.